Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. We'd like to welcome you all to tonight's edition of the Black Imams Roundtable. I'm Imam Faheem, aka Fa Curry, the Garden State Warrior. We live and in effect tonight, Tuesday. I'm here with my fellow Imams, my fellow amigos. Imam Amin Muhammad of Masjid Muhammad of Atlantic City, and my brother Imam Naeem Abdullah of Masjid Mukmin of Pittsburgh, not Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. So alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity again to engage you all in another session, inshallah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring about great benefit in this gathering. And we ask him to accept it and keep our efforts sincere. Amin. Let me finish getting set up here. Hold on. How's everyone doing? Okay, yeah, the first order of business, we dropped that bread, So first share this on your platforms, on your pages, and different groups. Please hit the share button, hit the like button, inshallah. And don't forget, I request that we try to get at least $10 from everyone who, who joins the podcast, inshallah. So, you see the link right there. Click on it. Drop the bread and let's get moving. Alhamdulillah. So tonight's topic that we've come up with, and I like to. I was traveling last week, so I didn't get a chance to attend, but it was a very good topic. I caught some of it. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, we'll be talking about that stuff some more in detail. But tonight's topic is how do we bridge the gap between us and the people who are not Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah? All right, how we try to come to some type of common ground, and it's very important. And it was kind of sparked. We've been tossing this around for a while, but listen to Imam Amin this morning. Many of you may have or may have not listened to him. He was talking about some of the issues in creed and some of the matters that we agree on and where we start to part, and then with the issues where we start to part is really starts to get interesting, and when we start to clarify the matters, then we start to see where we start to go apart, and in that discussion, sometimes it leaves room for people who are not aware. It may leave room for discussion. It leaves room for dialogue and discussion. And then sometimes people will take it as an attack, and that's not what we're trying to do. And we're talking about bridging the gap. First, we're talking about, the regular awam, the regular people who are, subjected to this kind of stuff sometimes, and they may not know how to, which way to go. I know in my experience, I still have Muslims, that are part of my community, and we teach them the proper creed. But then when they get around the Wahhabis, they start to create doubts in them, and they're not sure about what they learned, and we've seen some of that in some of the groups where someone will come, well, you guys say, and then they say, as if it's like a competition. And it's not. The creed is the creed is the creed, and there is no really disputing about that. But unfortunately, when we see people who have this incorrect creed, having a voice in different places, and especially where we are on the East Coast, and particularly in Camden and, Philadelphia, places like that, where some of these Wahhabis are really concentrated, it is a battlegrounds at times, and so we really have to work, find ways to come together. At the same time, we stand firm and clarify what our position is. And I think the lay people are the ones that get caught in the middle, because some don't know which way to go. And then some are kind of, they just want to see all the Muslims together. We all believe in Allah, but, there's some intricacies that we have to discuss, and there's some things that we can't let go, and when we, this morning, one of the jokes was we was talking about, talking to the choir, talking to the people who are regular and people who know, who attend the classes and who really know that creed, but it's important that when we're bridging the gap, we have to use an approach to try to win hearts over, because going back and forth with people is sometimes to no avail. And when we're bridging the gap, we have to learn how to close things up and put things together. So that indicates some type of healing, some type of reconciliation, some type of dialogue, some type of diplomacy. We have to do all of these things as people, Ahlul Sunnah, because when you look at that, with us and we look at them, you have to look at many of the components that you may be up against when you're dealing with those people. And, so the first thing you have to identify is that some of them, they really believe that what they learned all this time is true. And they don't really want to come to terms that they've been bamboozled. They don't want to come to terms that they've been deluded about, what they believe in. Another one is that people who really learned it, or they didn't really learn what they thought they knew, they really knew it and they thought that was it and there was no other way, So sometimes these people are open for discussion, and sometimes they just believe that they're right, because with the indoctrination, that this is Quran and Sunnah, this is what Allah says, this, and how they do it, Then you got some people who are adamant about being Wahhabi. They are adamant about being Wahhabi. They can't really discuss their position, but they're adamant, and they're going to go with it regardless, even if they discover it's wrong. They're going to have too much pride to say, I was misled, because no one in their right mind would think, they have their faculties in order. They can think, they can, process information. No one would say that, honestly, that I was misled. That's very difficult, And then you got the ones who are kind of displaced, and when they were part of that movement, the Wahhabi movement, just like other movements, they had charismatic leaders and they had catchy phrases and they had a lot of things going on. And then when it started to fall apart, when the personality started to be, they weren't larger than life, they got caught up in scandals, and, the leadership fell out. And then people who were more into the leadership and the personalities more than they were into the knowledge, it was a turnoff for them, And then you started to see, people starting to, leave Islam. I've seen some of their major figures, people who were like in the loop, in the elites. I've seen at least one or two of them apostating from Islam because they couldn't keep up with the Joneses with their minhaj, because in that movement, especially the one that's concentrated in this area, even Salafis are not Salafi enough. Even Salafis are not Salafi enough if they don't follow a certain methodology and stuff like that. So those kind of people that we have to try to reach the most, because a lot of them, like in my area, they're displaced. They know us, but they kind of still like on edge to come to our masjid. They don't want to be ostracized. If somebody says, if they if someone sees them at our masjid, or they said that they talked to me, or even if they expressed that they had a good feeling with Muslims at our masjid, because we've been branded as Ahlul Bidah. And I was just reading a post earlier about a sister, one of our sisters, she was on the Wahhabi way, and, she kind of left it, and she said she's been away from it for like a year. And now she's been getting these really like, unsavory comments from people calling her Ahlul Bidah and all this kind of stuff. And that's what they do when you try to leave it, So for us who know our creed and, we're getting the right people teaching us, we have to know if we're going to be giving da'wah, engaging these people and trying to bridge the gap, we got to kind of have an idea of the kind of people that we're talking to, because like some of those leaders, they ain't going to talk to us at all. Some of them, they're not going to, they don't want to give up their comfort zone, and they don't want to be seen as somebody who's supposed to have knowledge to be totally incorrect in some instances, totally incorrect, and then when they're shown things about, the proper creed, they don't want to accept that they never learned that, because, they're knowledgeable, and you'll be surprised at how many people who are so-called knowledgeable with the Wahhabis, that don't know some of the things, or don't know some of the things that their scholars have said, because that's one of their big things, refer to the scholars, refer back to the scholars. And then when they mean scholars, they mean a particular set of scholars, which none of them that they rely on are from the Salaf. None of them that they rely on are from the Salaf, and then when you get deeper into it, you find out that some of these scholars that they love and said they, ulama, and even went to the level, said that they were mujtahidun in this time. They said that some of these scholars was mujtahid mutlaq, like absolute mujtahid. SubhanAllah, I remember reading this with my own eyes when I was in that Wahhabi movement, and they give them fancy titles that this one is the faqih of this time. This one is the muhaddith of this time. And then not knowing some of the reprehensible beliefs that they had, saying that, a person is not from Ahl Sunnah if they don't believe that Allah has organs. They say if the person doesn't believe that Allah has organs, they are not from Ahl Sunnah. Or they say that you believe Allah has all of these things in the literal sense, and what he doesn't mention, then we don't mention either. So in their view, that Allah has a face, but he doesn't have a head. He has a hand, but he doesn't have an arm. Why? Yada billah, because he doesn't mention arm, and these are reprehensible beliefs. Then you have some of them who say that Allah, because they say that there is no majaz in the Quran, and there is ta'wil is not is haram. They say stuff, make up things like, he said Allah is in a non-existent place. They say Allah is in a non-existent place because they know, at least they know that Allah is literally not above the throne, but they don't want to accept that we just say istawa ala al-arsh and just leave it at that. And whatever it means, we leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To them, that's making it a ta'wil, and they don't accept that. So, but they will go and make a bid'ah and say Allah is in a non-existent place, which is, that's kufr, man. So when we're dealing with these people and bridging the gaps, and this is for the choir now, we have to understand how we are going to deal with them. And I think the approach should be, we get the regular people, make sure that we engage them, show them beautiful akhlaq, and just, make sure that we know how to express what we believe, and then, go work on those people, give them the good sunnah, making sure you take care of their needs, checking up with them. And just when you win them over, then you got their ear, and we have to keep in mind, we're not going to get all of their ears. Some of them are not even, some of them, they've been trained and conditioned to not even salam you if you don't come to their masjid. They've been conditioned to not even give you salams if you don't come to their masjid, and if they don't know you, they won't even talk to you, and so we got to know what kind of people to go out there. And then eventually we hope that when we bridge the gap with some of the leaders, that we'll at least have an open dialogue, and hopefully that they won't continue to hide behind this thing about, they don't debate, they don't argue, but no, this is not an argument that we have. We're having a clarification of what's true and what isn't, and what is right according to the Quran as soon as they say, and we talk about bringing proofs and bringing evidences and going to resources, and that's all it is. So when if some of you, talk to these people, let that message be known. We just want to have a dialogue. I remember one time I was talking to him. He was like, if we're going to argue, then I don't want to talk about it. No, we're not going to argue. But listen, when we talk about this stuff, it can get a little deep, and we black folk, we don't just talk with, dry kind of rhythm. We talk with, we got to put something into it. When we talk, it's going to be said with the chest. It's going to be said with some bass, It's going to be some rebuttals. It's going to be some, man, who you think you're talking to, that's how it goes. What I mean? That's who we are. So, but at the end, we're not going to fall out about it. But if we about the truth, then, they should be willing to have these kind of discussions with us. And this is an open invitation that we've been doing to some of those leaders to have an open discussion. Have an open discussion, and let the truth decide. Don't tell people that, don't listen to them because they Ahl Bid'ah and all that kind of stuff, and then you don't have anything to substantiate it, Or, you know, you have regular people say, don't go here, don't listen to them, this, that, and the other, and then they can't explain it. And that's where we have to be different. No, we tell you not to mess with Wahhabis because this is what they believe. This is their methodology. This is what they say about this. This is what they say about that, you know, and this is why this is wrong. You know, that's the difference, you know, and it's not made up stuff, you know, because they call us all types of names. You know, they call you a Sufi, and Sufi, they already have a concept of what Sufism is, you know, which they picked and selected, you know what I mean? And you know, because they'll say stuff like, one of their great scholars will say, there is no tasawwuf in Islam. They said there is no tasawwuf has no basis. You know, they're on record saying this. So then when you show them all of the great scholars of the past, you know, they were either Ashari, Maturidi, they follow one of the madhabs, and they follow tariqas, you know, now what? You know? I remember being with them where they used to say that following the madhab was similar to how the Yahud followed their monks and rabbis. That's what they used to say. It was similar, that whatever they tell them, they just follow. And that's not what following the madhab is, as you all know. You know, it's following qualified scholarship, you know, authority. So, and I mean, they went so far as to call it shirk. Even now you hear it's the opinions of men. Which one of the Sahabas called themselves Hanafi or Maliki or all that? Did the Prophet ﷺ, was he Ashari? You know, did any of them, you know, this nonsense that they play games, you know? And it's a smack in the face to Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and that's why some of these things need to be addressed, you know. But we need to really understand how we're going to engage them, because at the end of the day, and I know being on the ground, dealing with the regular people, you want to win them over. You want to warm their hearts. You want to help them out. You want to help them unlearn and then to relearn. And it's a painstaking process sometimes, because, you know, some of them, they just be like, you know, hard-headed, like, like, damn, man, how many times I got to tell you this, man? Like, how many, you know, what their proofs is more better than mine, you know, and then and some of them don't know how to handle criticism, and some of them don't want to be, they don't want to be called out, you know. And Imam Amin said something very important this morning. You know, some of them, they will talk to you in the background. They will cheer you on. You know, I've had many, keep doing what you're doing, Imam. You know, you hang in there. But, you know, some come to it, you know, and we in public, you know, they be like, man, I can't help you, you know. And that's cool, though. But they're listening, you know, and and I know a lot of people personally who are displaced, and now they're starting to see the impact of that movement. But now they gotta move away from it totally, because some of them think that, okay, I'm not with them Salafis no more. I'm not that kind of Salafi, but they're still under the umbrella of Wahhabiyah. You follow what I'm saying? So they think, okay, I'm not with them kind of be, you know, wife swapping and, you know, doing all this kind of stuff, you know, but I'm gonna just go with these. But they all still believe that Allah is in a literal place, and that you can see Allah, and that Allah has literal limbs and stuff like that, you know, and they be beefing with each other. So we just got to work on helping them, and, you know, helping where we are in areas that we live. And when we have these, you know, Salafis that come, because they easy to identify, you know, if they come to your masjid, you know, the first thing they look at is your bookshelf, see what kind of bid'ah you hiding there. You know, they look and they come around, they look around like if something's going to go out. So I always make a joke at the masjid, man, like, man, turn the lights on, man. Don't you know they think we flying the carpets on here? Turn the lights on, man. You know, when I need you to turn the lights off, you have them on. Now you need them on when they should be on. You got them off. Like, stop being backwards, you know. One time I was, you know, one of my camp, he looking around. I was like, yo, like, boo, look, you know, what you looking all shaky for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that kind of stuff. But knowing who the kind of people that you're dealing with, and some of them you got to walk them through, some of them you got to be patient, and some of them you just got to ignore them, because they're going to make, you know, they're going to make the nigga come out of you. And we really trying to avoid that, you know. So that's my opening, inshallah. And my fellow amigos will take it from there.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Wa alaikum salam. Yes.
Well, it ain't like last week, right? I'm good.
No, it sounds. Well, I wasn't here last week, but this sounds good.
Alhamdulillah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Rabbil Alameen. Wa afdalu salatu wa atamu tasneem ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa radiyallahu ta'ala an asatid tabi'een wa ulama al-amalin wa a'immatul arba'atul mujtahideen wa muqallidihim ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. Once again, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Alhamdulillah. Tonight, we want to discuss bridging the gaps between us. And Imam Faheem, my partner, my amigo, was talking about one of the gaps that exist between us. But in fact, we have a lot of gaps that exist between us. We have a lot of gaps that exist between us. And so we going to be talking about ways to bridge many of these different gaps that exist between us. And as I was trying to prepare for this discussion tonight, I just jotted down some of the gaps that exist between us. The first thing that I wrote was men versus women. Then I wrote Wahhabi versus Sunni. Then I wrote elder versus youth. Then I wrote economically stable versus economically unstable. Then I wrote ethnic group versus another ethnic group. Now it's so bad that we got vaccinated versus the unvaccinated, voter versus the non-voter. And you can keep adding to this list. You can literally keep adding. And when it comes to stuff like this, it's not the fact that we're different or we have different opinions that's an issue. Because differences have always existed. That's not the problem. Like Issa said, gluten versus gluten-free. Right? All of these differences exist. 5K versus the not having 5K, right? All these differences exist, right? But the way I believe Allah wants us to address things that cause division between us, because when we say gap, we talk about division, animosity, beef. We're not just merely talking about differences. Differences are always going to be there. But with us and what we're talking about differences that we have that have morphed into division and animosity. And just for the record, when I say us, because this is the Black Imams Roundtable, I'm talking about Black folks. That's what I mean when I say us, just so I'm clear, right? And so I believe that when it comes to anything, Allah wants us to understand why something is the way it is, so that we can understand the how, so that we can address it better. And I think one of the ways that we can understand that you have to understand the environment in which you're in, the environment in which you live. And I think no part of the Quran or no story in the Quran addresses the environment in which we live more than the story or the dynamic between Musa, Bani Israel, and Pharaoh. And I think based from a society perspective, I think the first few ayats of Surah Qasas, I think it captures it perfectly. And I'll just read a few of those verses. Allah begins with Ta-Sin-Meen. And we know these are the broken letters. Allah knows best what they mean. Tilka ayatul kitabil mubin. This is the verses of the book that makes things clear, or the clear book. Natlu alayka min naba'i Musa wa fir'auna bil haqqi li qawmin yu'minun. We relate to you the story of Moses and Pharaoh, the truth of it, for the benefit of those who believe. Innal fir'auna ala fil ardi. Verily, Pharaoh became arrogant in the earth. Pharaoh became arrogant in the earth. And if you read in another place in the Quran, Allah quotes Pharaoh as saying, Ana Rabbukum al-Ala, I'm your Lord the Most High. So he became that arrogant that he attributed lordship or godhead to himself, right? So he was extremely arrogant. And I think y'all really need to pay attention, because this is the type we are literally living in, or during a period of minhaj al-Fir'auniyya, the Pharaonic methodology. This is how most of our modern societies are governed, based upon this methodology right here. And so those who are in charge, those who rule, they assume the role of God, right? They're extremely arrogant. And they feel like they have the right to tell you who, how, and when you can worship, etc., etc., etc. So he became very arrogant in the earth. وَجَعَلَ أَحْلَهَا شِيَعًا. And he divided its people into sects, into groups. This is the methodology that they use to govern people. They divide people. They create divisions amongst the people. That's the part right there I want you to concentrate on. وَجَعَلَ أَحْلَهَا شِيَعًا. And I'll just continue and finish the verse. وَيَسْتَضْعِفُ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ. And he oppressed a group from among them. يُذَبِّحُ أَبْنَاءَهُم. Killing their boys. وَيَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُم. And letting their women live. إِنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. Verily he was from amongst the corrupt people. And we know those people were Bani Israel. And he was sacrificing the boys and letting their women live. But the part that we wanted to concentrate on is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَعَلَ أَحْلِهَا شِيَعًا. And he made their people into sects, into divisions. He divided them up. Who did that? Pharaoh. He's the criminal. He's the one that started the situation. He's the one that created these differences amongst Bani Israel in order to keep them from coming together and unifying and undermining them. And really the reason why he did that is because Pharaoh had a vision that a young boy would be born from amongst Bani Israel, who would basically topple the ruling regime. And so this is why they did all of this. He created the division. And a lot of times when we talk about gaps and division between us, we don't never like to go back to the source. We don't never like to call out who created the division. And this is a problem. You have to understand who and what caused your sickness in order for you to treat it properly. When you're talking about curing even diseases of the heart, our scholars will tell you what the nature of the disease is first. We'll tell you what it comes from. What is the source of the disease? What are some of its major characteristics? And then tell you how to treat it. They just don't just tell you how to treat it. You just take this medicine or just do this dhikr right here. They help you understand what the cause of it is. So when we're talking about bridging gaps and dealing with the division amongst us, we can't be those type of people like, oh, it don't matter, who started this. We here now. What we going to do now? No, you got to go back to who started it. Because if you don't deal with who started it, when you fix that problem, he's going to create another division, and then you'll be at square one again. So you have to deal with the one who created the problem first. And so, with all of these issues and examples that I met, men versus women, right? If you pay attention to this modern wave, this gender war, that didn't start in our community. It didn't even start in our community decades ago when we talk about the feminist revolution. That didn't start in our community. That was put upon us. And some of us ignorantly took that on and made it our problem. That wasn't our problem. Before, Black people recognized that we have a common oppressor. It wasn't that some people convinced some of us convince some of us into thinking that no, the real problem is not our common enemy. The real problem is you. And the real problem is you. No, it's you, right? And we keep arguing with each other. No. The one who put us in this cage, he's the problem. Likewise, Wahhabi versus Ahlul Sunnah, right? We didn't make that up. That was given to us. That problem was given to us. And the same one who gave us that problem is the same one who gave us the gender issue problem. You may say, what do you mean? The Wahhabi Arabs, the Saud family gave us the problem? No, the Saud family wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for their European Kafir counterparts, their helpers, the British and the Americans and the French and all of those who really support them. The Wahhabi problem is a problem that was empowered. It was given diesel fuel by the kuffar. The same people that say Wahhabism is a problem internationally allow them to get chaplain jobs domestically in this country. They know what they're doing. You read their RAND reports and all of that kind of stuff. They know what Wahhabism is. They internationally, they labeled them terrorist organizations. They've identified the books written by Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab to be the foundation of their terroristic behavior. But they'll give them same people jobs, prison jobs in the prison to teach Black people that stuff. So they understand all of that. It's just a weapon or tool that they use to divide us. The elder versus the youth. I mean, we can just read the the Willie Lynch speech. And some people argue, well, that's been proven to be a fallacy, or Willie Lynch never existed, whatever. Okay, even if he never existed, what's on that speech, what's on that lecture, we see it happening in front of our eyes. And even if Willie Lynch never existed, this verse of Quran is real. And Allah is showing us right here that the reality that, okay, maybe Willie Lynch never existed, but Allah exists. And he said Pharaoh existed. And this is how Pharaoh divided up his society, and this is how Pharaoh created division in the society in order to control it. And we know clearly, without a shadow of a doubt, that the United States of America is built upon the Pharaonic methodology. That's why they put a Pharaonic pyramid on their dollar bill. This is why they even laid out geographically, architecturally, Washington, D.C., the capital of the country, based upon ancient Egypt. They clearly and consciously built a society based upon a Pharaonic model. And that's just not only geographically and architecturally, it's also socially as well. They didn't just stop there, they're socially doing it. So they know exactly what they're doing. They know in order to control, you have to keep the division there amongst the people. And so the elder versus the youth, the economically stable versus the economically unstable. So some of us, we all Black, we got the same problem, whatever, but some of us are a little bit more stable than the other. And so we don't want to be around the people that's living from paycheck to paycheck or got an EBT card. You know, we think we better than them. That's arrogance. Pharaoh chose and decided to give you a better job than him. And so now you think you're better than him because you got better money. Your money a little bit tighter. And as soon as he get tired of you, he'll pull a rug from under your arm and you'll be applying for your EBT card. But you forget that, last year you thought you was better than him because you didn't have an EBT card. We can't forget Pharaoh or his modern manifestation is the one who's creating this division. Like I'm here in Gambia right now, right? I got here on election day, and you listen to the dialogue of the people, right? You listen to what people are saying. They don't get it, right? A lot of people here in the African continent, they still deep in tribalism. Well, I don't, he's Wolof, I ain't messing with him. He's Mandinka, I ain't messing with him. He's Fulani, I ain't messing with him. He's Jola, I ain't messing with him. And then you have the exact other extreme. Well, forget about all these tribes, man. We just Gambian. Gambia was created by agreement between the British and the French. What are you talking about? Right? You go from one extreme, hating each other because of tribe, and then you go to the other extreme of recognizing a forced border, a forced boundary that your collective enemy created for you. So, like, we just don't get it. Vaccinated versus the unvaccinated, right? People who hate each other. Like, I saw a stat, I ain't even gonna quote it, right? SubhanAllah. You can't even bring the topic up, right? Some people, like, SubhanAllah, it's crazy. That's Imam Faheem's area. Right? I stay posted up on that by listening to Imam Faheem's page, right? Voter versus non-voter. Let presidential election season come around, right? You got some Muslims that make takfir on you if you choose not to vote or you vote for who they don't want to vote for. SubhanAllah. I never saw that in the Aqidah of Imam Tahawi. We believe that you most vote Democrat, and if you don't, then your Aqidah is deficient, and you need to renew your Shahada. I never read that the Aqidah of Imam Tahawi or the Sadusi Creed or any place else, right? But man, we kick a person out of the deen real quick. If we don't vote or we don't vote for who we think we should vote for, but we don't never pay attention of who put that idea in our head. Who made this the litmus test? Who put the idea in our head that this person is my enemy? So that's what I really want to focus on. A lot of times we talk about what's dividing us, what is the gaps that's between us. We need to ask ourselves, well, who put the gap there? Because when we get the one out of the room who put the gap there, then we wouldn't be having these issues. We can have a conversation like human beings. But when you look at all of these issues and more, things that you all can name that I didn't mention here, if you take the outside person and get them out of our business and allow us to talk, we can get past the point where we can't even talk to each other and we're calling each other names. We can get to a point where at least we can respect each other. But you got to get that outsider out of the conversation. And a lot of us don't want to do that for various reasons. And so these are my opening comments.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Let me start with saying Assalamu alaikum Na'il. Could we all give Na'il Black Imams Round Table official welcome? Assalamu alaikum Na'il.
Na'il, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum Na'il.
Welcome, little homie, welcome. With that being said, excuse me today, I'm mentally messed up. You won't normally see me like this, but I took a 2-piece to the head about 2 hours before I came on, and I ain't recovered yet. And my whole thought pattern changed. Subhanallah, so I'm dragging. And I'm gonna touch on what gave me a headache, and my head is hurting like real bad.
Touch on it, brother.
Think I'm sleepy.
Talk back to me.
I'm not sleepy. My head is killing me. That's why you can't get angry. One of the reasons you're not supposed to get angry, but when you get angry and you get angry enough, it gives you your blood pressure go up. I gotta, right? Just thinking about it, right? Anyway, I want to talk about 5 things, and I'm gonna just put them, and then maybe after we talk, Yes, it has to be. No AC. Dennis Bell. Let me give you the link. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm scrambled a little bit. Please forgive me. Allah. Where's my glasses? Where's the round table? Oh, there it go. Right? Did I put that? I'm sorry. I'm trying to do something real quick. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Okay. All right. Someone was asking about the information for the Cash App. Yes, you must put AC behind Masjid Muhammad. AC. So 5 things I want to discuss. The first one, if we want to bridge the gap, I think this is the most important thing that we need to do. We need to realize that education is the key. Education is the key. I don't think we as a people emphasize education enough. And when I say in the education, I mean that in the broadest sense, right? Religious education, secular education, cultural education, and other types of education. So broad. When I say education, I mean broad. We have to open up among our people the importance and the necessity of education. We have to educate ourselves. In every facet of life, among us need to be people who are specialists in the different fields of life. They're well educated. Now, it's not possible that every individual is going to have that, but among us, there must be people that's educated, well educated in every field. That's something we got to strive for. Education has to be important. The reason I say that is because through education, you're going to discover truth. Through education, you're going to discover truth. Let me repeat that. Through education, you're going to discover truth. And we live in a world that we live in that wants to destroy truth. Right? And what do I mean, the world we live in? Those who are in dominant control today, they want everyone to have their own truth, which translates into there is no such thing as truth. They want everyone to have your own truth, so it ends up being no truth at all, right? For us as Muslims, the ultimate truth is what Allah revealed and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam conveyed. That's our ultimate truth, right? Revelation. So therefore, we need some among us who understand revelation very well, not in a superficial manner, right? So we need highly educated people in the Islamic sciences, because that's the basis for our worldview. Al-Islam is the foundation of how we look at the world as Muslims. So we have to be very, very educated, especially in Islam, because based on that education is going to determine how we look at everything else. So we have to learn our deen well. And we must be firm in knowing that truth does exist. There is a such thing as truth. Now, figuring out what is truth is a challenge, is a job, is a struggle, but truth does exist, right? Truth does exist. There is a such thing as truth. And since truth exists, there is also such thing as falsehood. Falsehood does exist, right? So that's one point. That's number one, education. And the highest level of the education is knowledge of the deen, knowledge of al-Islam, our religion. The second point that I want to highlight, if we want to bridge the gaps. So first we got to be educated. If a person's not educated, we can forget about it. We ain't bridging nothing. They don't even really understand the importance of even bridging a gap. They're not educated. We have to educate people. In that process, the second thing you're going to discover, and this is my second point, is not knowing is not the problem. Having a lack of knowledge is not the essential problem, but the failure to recognize when we don't know is a problem. The lack of knowledge in and of itself is not a problem, but when we fail to recognize when we don't know, that is a problem, right? So sometimes we'll never be educated if we don't recognize that I don't know and I need to learn. It has become common for us to talk about things we don't know what we're talking about, because there is this idea of there's no truth. The truth is what I think the truth is. So therefore, I'll talk about something that I don't know what I'm talking about. And I won't admit, I know I don't know, and I still won't admit that I don't know. This is a problem, right? To the point that the scholars, they said about such a person that there is a person who doesn't know and doesn't know that they don't know. They are the devil that you need to stay away from. The person, he doesn't know, he doesn't know he doesn't know. In other words, he thinks he knows, he doesn't. Such a person is the devil that you need to stay away, a devil that you need to stay away from. So this second thing, we need to work on that, right? Among ourselves, right? The third thing, and this may be a little touchy, but I'm firmly convinced in it. And I'm speaking because we're talking about the Black Imams Roundtable. We need Black love and tribal, national dignity. We need to reestablish that. We need to reclaim, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Seriously. We need Black love. We need to have a sense of dignity and honor that I'm a Black man or Black woman. And I'm dignified in my Blackness. We need that. Seriously. That is a major problem in us as a group bridging our gaps. it is extremely important to realize our interconnection as Black people. That's important. And that we have the job of nation building. We have the job of nation building. And we can't apologize for that. If we don't build and restore the love of Black people for themselves and dignity among them, the human race will not go forward. I'm going to repeat that. If we don't rebuild and restore the love of Black people among themselves and a sense of dignity in their Blackness, the human race will not go forward in a productive manner. The Black hatred, the lack of honor and dignity that Black people have for Black people is a cause of other peoples to oppress and be biased against Black folk. We are sometimes our worst enemy. And our lack of love for one another and dignity in our Blackness is something that others don't want to change because they have, through that, a way to subjugate us. Right? Seriously, this is a deep thing, and I'm going to tell you what gave me a headache, and it relates to this. That's number 3. So y'all got my 3. Number 4, I only got 5, so I'm almost done. Economic empowerment is necessary because it will help us regain a level of respect and honor among ourselves and in our dealings and interactions with other ethnicities. Right? When we have economic empowerment, that's going to help us regain the level of respect we have for ourselves and our honor among ourselves and amongst other ethnicities. Because we do live in a world that if you don't have financial stability and excel in worldly things, you're going to lose a sense of respect in the world we live in. So we do need to talk about money and learn how to become a nation and a people that is financially savvy, that are successful in dunya, as well as in deen, but in dunya, right? This is very important. And sometimes our religious misunderstanding keeps us in poverty. And poverty in the world we live in will keep us feeling inferior. These are just things I see. They don't have to be right. They're my thoughts, right? But I believe them firmly. And there's reasons why I say that. I won't go into that. But trust me, I know the one who is financially stable, how that person is treated in the world, as Imam Naim indicated, and the one who is financially struggling, how that one is treated. So as a people, we have to become an economic powerhouse, especially as Black Muslims. That's a reality. And when we do, things are going to look quite different on the ground. The fifth thing is that we have to learn to live peacefully amongst each other, despite the differences that we have. And the way we do that is by finding common ground through mutual needs and benefits, and work towards that. Despite our differences, we still have mutual needs, and there are mutual benefits that we can share in despite our differences. And we need to figure what they are and how to cooperate with each other in those things. So because we disagree, don't mean there's nothing we can do. That means the area of disagreement, we need to define it, and then find other areas that we have the same need and we can share the same benefit and work. And this is what we need to do as Black people, as Black Muslims, as African Americans, call it whatever you want. That's what we need to do for us. I want to share something that gave you my headache, and I'm going to stop. And I'm trying not to go off about it and not make a big issue of it, but it is bothering the heck out of me, right? I'm trying to let it go, but I can't. So I'm listening to some lessons from a popular sheikh in the Middle East. Lectures are in Arabic. And I listen to this popular sheikh all the time. Regularly, I listen to him, right? Very popular. So today I'm listening to him. He's explaining a book, and I'm listening. And he's talking about a dream that a person had of Prophet Musa, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in the dream, the man said that he saw a brown-skinned man, and he asked him, "Are you the prophet Moses?" And he said, "Yes, I am Musa." And the sheikh, he stopped on this point, and he said, Musa, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was not brown-skinned. He was wheat-colored, meaning he's not black. He said this, he's not black. Then he followed it up and said, none of the prophets were black. None of the prophets were black. I got a headache just thinking about it. He said, none of the prophets were black. He said, because perfection in beauty is whiteness, not blackness. He said, because perfection in beauty is in whiteness, not blackness. And the prophets were the most beautiful of Allah's creation. I stopped right there. I could not go any further. I was furious. What made me furious? Not just the statement. But the result of such a statement. We have black people among us who follow people who think like that. And they may not realize that the people think like that, but they treat blacks according to that thought. And the blacks don't realize that this is how they think about you. So if you're listening to this and then you come and interact with blacks, you have this in your mind. Right? Now, besides the refutation of that, I'm not going to go into that. We are Muslims. This is what is given to us in education by people who's supposed to be scholars and teaching us. But that's your mindset, right? So for me, when I think of all these things, I say that's what we're up against. That's what we're up against. That type of mentality educating us, right? That type of the mentality I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the person. I'm talking about the mentality, right? The mentality. But the minute we go to do something for ourselves, someone would come and say, why y'all doing that black stuff? Us, I'm talking about, or others. Why y'all doing that black stuff? But that's what's being taught by religious scholars about black people. It's some deep stuff. It's hurtful when you think about it. It will make you realize the importance of everything I'm talking about. Such statements would make you realize the importance of education, because if that's being told to you in the name of religion, it's going to mess up your whole world view. Remember, I said Islam gives us our world view. So if you already have in your mind that the best of the creation of Allah are the prophets, and the best of them are the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? These are the ones who are sent to guide you, to teach you, to follow, and you don't see that it's not even possible for you to have your story anywhere in that. Right? That's a deep joint, because that's the same thing that was done to us by corrupt white people in America, in the school system, whitewashing everything. In Christianity, whitewashing everything, which had a lot to do with the mental state of black folk. Some deep stuff. So if you're as a Muslim and you're being taught such things, you're already taught to devalue yourself. You're taught to devalue yourself. And this, Islam came to free us from these ideas, but they exist. So people tell us, don't talk about racism. You crazy if I'm not going to talk about racism with stuff like that being taught, right? You're out your mind if I'm not going to talk about racism. Now think about it. That wasn't in English. That's in Arabic. So the brother wanted to go learn Arabic. He want to learn his knowledge. That's Arabic with a sheikh. You heard what I said? That's Arabic language, no English. With a big scholar who has influence in the heart of the black community, among blacks. I want you to think about that stuff. The given sheikh that I was talking about, who's among many sheikhs, they got a lot of black people who follow and listen to them. And they control black folk. What does that look like in our community? So that's why I mentioned all these things. And really, I hear some people coming against me at the encouragement of those same people who feel that way. Black people that would attack me, and they're getting their instructions to attack from people who think like that. It's some deep stuff. And instead of calling a spade, it is a spade, we'll try to give tat wheel for that stuff. I'll give some figure of interpretation. So these things, I'll repeat them quickly so I went long, but education, admitting when we don't know so that we can learn. Because if you don't admit when you don't know, you're not going to learn. Learn to love one another. Support one another. Be dignified in who we are as a people. Establish economic empowerment. It's essential. And learn to live despite our differences among one another. That's my thoughts on this subject. Go ahead.
Imam, I like to pick up on something you mentioned about love. I think
Hold
I
up.
agree with everything.
Let me mess with Nail real quick. 1 second.
Okay.
Nail, you've been around me enough. You've watched me enough. Scared definitely ain't my thing. But there's no benefit when I want you to get the point. The sheikh's name ain't the point. The point is the mentality that's being spread in the ranks of Islam that we got to watch. And it ain't about one given sheikh. That's a mentality. Because that sheikh is a representative of a whole group of people feel like that. So it's not about the individual. That's why it has nothing to do with scared. And that's just me messing with you and giving you some light. That's Nail. And Nail's a smart brother. Great. I like messing with Nail. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Imam Naeem.
Alhamdulillah, I wanted to connect on to what you said about reviving love amongst us and between us black folks, especially us black folks who are Muslim. We're supposed to have love. I mean, the fact that we're Muslims, the love should already be there. And on top of that, we are black. And we have a similar or a common historical experience. I don't think a lot of us know what love is supposed to look like. And so I want to just give you an example of how you treat someone that you do love. I think if you ask most of us, who do we love the most outside of Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, most of us would say our mother. And because we love our mother, there's a certain way that we will treat our mother. Even if and when we see our mother making a mistake or doing something wrong or doing something that we don't think is good, even as adults who may not even be living under their mother's care anymore, there's a certain way that you will address your mother because you love her. She's your family. You came from her, etc., etc., etc. The reason why we deal with our mother in such a way is because of the love we have for her. If you take that and you transpose that upon how we deal with each other, you see the exact opposite. We deal with each other the way enemies deal with each other. We actually we don't display love for each other. We display hatred for each other. Most of us, we are actually lying in wait, waiting for one of us to make a mistake so that we can be the first one to call it out publicly. And then at the same time, claim that we love that person. This is what we do. This is what normal people do to their enemies. We try to find something wrong with them, and we don't try to correct it. No, we try to expose the fact that they did or said something wrong or neglected to do something right, and we like to show everybody that. And another thing that's connected with that shows that there's no love there. You can be dealing with one of us, never been an issue, never been a problem. You will be cool with each other. And then the next time you interact with that person is coming at you. They're coming at your neck. They let somebody put a battery in their back. That's not love. If we can be cool and never had a problem with each other, and then you can go to someone else, whether that person be black or non-black, and it's that easy for them to put a battery in your back against someone that you claim to love, that means you really don't love them. And this is a sign that we really don't love each other. We just be talking. Because if we really love each other, we wouldn't be acting like this towards each other. I don't know what it is, but we need to have more love between each other because it's too easy to make us flip on one another. I can give a whole bunch of examples of this too. Brothers and sisters never had no issue, never had no personal problems with one another, but it was that easy for someone outside of them to be able to say something that was true or not true, and able to flip that person against you, and you and him never had a problem with each other. That's not love. We need to do the way our scholars, the Salihin, and even the Sahabas would do. Whenever something like that would happen, soon as somebody tried to put that battery in your back, whoa, before you put that battery in, let me come bring you to this person right here. Man, it seems like y'all got a problem. Maybe I can bring it together. Face to face. Right? But we don't do that no more. We'll find 10,001 excuses to not want to bring people to the table. And we have no excuse to do it. We have Facebook. We have Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Viber, email, text message, phone number. I mean, TikTok, Instagram, DM, Twitter. We got 1,000,001 ways to communicate with each other. But for some reason, whenever it's time to make the love appear and to get out that bad stuff, none of those 10,000 ways to communicate with each other, none of those would work. And so we have to be mindful of that. And we before when we used to always talk about being on code, that's off code. Somebody able to flip you against us, and you claim to be from amongst us, you off code. You on the other side. How can you really love someone like that? And it's that easy to flip you. One conversation, one inbox, one innuendo, and you attacking me in public without even the decency to have a conversation to get a clarity on whatever they said it was to have you flipped. That's no love. And I just wanted to mention that when you said love, all of that came to my mind. I apologize. So we just add on what you're saying, and it's all love.
I want to we got to take care of business real quick. Imam Faheem, last week I did pretty good in my fundraising efforts. I had the shit by myself. Me and Dr. Sabir came in and bailed us out. So good time fundraising. Let's go, Otis.
Yeah, what a love at tonight, man. $140. Y'all pay sitting in our face, man. Come on. We out here pouring our hearts out. We trying to bridge the gaps. We talking about economic empowerment. And y'all not running those jewels, man. What's going on out here?
Where is this at? Oh, hold on. Come on, Imam Faheem, you gotta do better than that.
Yeah, I'm not done yet.
That is the poorest Imam Siraj imitation I ever saw in my life.
Now, Imam Siraj is one of a kind, man. Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff here tonight, man. But getting back to bridging the gaps, we do hope that this is something that can happen because there's a lot of potential that can come out of it as far as getting people to come to Ahl Sunnah, you know, and we have to make sure we do that work, inshallah ta'ala, you know. In this area, you know, that Wahhabi movement is really dying down, you know, and they kind of down to like their hardcore followers that ain't going to leave them no matter what, you know. So it's an opportune time to really start reaching out to those people and, you know, taking them by the hand and helping them out and showing them, you know, the ways that they need to know about Ahl Sunnah and, you know, some of the questions that they need answered. You know, we just got to keep at it, inshallah ta'ala. Yeah, but getting back to this fundraiser, you know, drop that money in the pot. We're talking about $10, you know. Alhamdulillah, we've been pretty consistent, you know, let's keep it going. You know, every amount that you drop is something that goes on your scale or good deeds that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring forth to you on the judgment day. You know, that's something we got to keep in mind. You know, let's get that bread up, man. You know what we need? What's that? 140, what's that? 360? We need $360. You know, how many people we got online?
860.
860. Yeah.
Right now there's 97 people watching live, and there's a bunch of people who tune in and out, you know.
Yeah, so 97 people live. You're talking about $5-10 a piece? Or no, we $8.60. We yesterday last minute's amount is not this minute's amount. you know, so we said
$3.60. I think sometimes we don't realize, and I think this is community building, nation building, leaving a legacy is not a spectator sport. Community building, nation building, leaving a legacy is not a spectator sport. You have to get in the game. And there are not enough of us doing what we're trying to do to really make a difference, right? There's not enough of us. And one of the reasons that there's not enough of us is because many of us are discouraged from too many of us being spectators and not actively involved in our own development, right? You can't say, I want change, and you're not willing to make the sacrifice that's necessary to see that change, right? I can't say we have a problem and I'm that problem, right? So each and every one of us have to be that change we want to see. And if we're going to continue to not only do what we're doing, but we have to further what we're doing. What we're doing is not enough, right? What we're doing is not enough. If we're serious about what we're talking about. And part of it is a financial commitment to our own development as a community. And when we do that, we'll see the beginning of our development. But if we fail to support our own efforts, forget about it. It's just rhetoric, right? But the other thing, the more you support your own efforts, you encourage others to engage in that too, right? We are a type of people who like to follow the crowd. You know, in the streets, they be like, where's the party jumping? Where are the people going? You got to develop that atmosphere, that building with one another, that's what's popping. Developing our own is what's popping, right? Imams coming together and talking about serious issues. Sisters coming together, talking about serious issues. Youth coming together, talking about serious issues, then bringing all that together and actually on the ground working on serious issues. That's what's needed. And all of that, it takes financial support. And this is small stuff. You're talking about $500 a week. This is going to take us a long time to do that work. If you look at that $500 a week, you're talking $24,000, $25,000 a year. What are you going to do with $25,000 a year, really? But you can start the process. So don't look at it as a lot. We're really falling short on what we need to do if we're serious, talking about going all around the country, right? So I just want y'all to think about that, because we have this concept, let's just talk about it, but don't do it. Now you can't keep talking. You got to actually do something. If the Prophet ﷺ would just give lectures about building the ummah and no one supported it, we wouldn't be here today. I repeat, if the Prophet ﷺ just talked about building the ummah, spreading the deen, and no one supported it, we wouldn't be here today. Not us as Muslims. It's because someone sacrificed their money. Someone sacrificed their time. Someone sacrificed their life for the development of the deen. And these things we got to get in our minds, right? Right. We got to be like Hadiyah. I am my community's keeper. Yeah, that's right. So that was my fundraising pitch.
Okay, yeah, we coming along. It's kicking in, man. We're getting a couple of donations, alhamdulillah. Yeah, this is very important. You know, we really gotta take care of each other, you know, and money is like the easiest part that any of us can do. You know, oftentimes, just to tell you what the Imam Amin was saying, you know, it's just so easy to just give some money, you know what I mean, and be done with it and know that goes on your scale. I mean, you're dealing with people that you know, that you see, that you can reach out and touch, you know, you can inbox, you can call us, you know, you can see us at events, you see us in the streets, you see us out and about, you know, we real live people, you know, and this is what we do, you know, and we need your support to do it, you know what I mean? So let's just keep on doing it, you know what I mean? And that's how we empower each other. So we don't have to worry about, you know, doing no fundraisers that where it seems like begging or, you know, why they always ask for money. We ain't got to ask for money because our people got our back, you know, our people that we serve, you know, that we take care of, that we love too, you know, just, you know, giving a little bit. We're not asking for a lot, you know, we're not asking nobody to, you know, turn over their life savers. We're not trying to swindle nobody. You know, I was reading some stuff online about, you know, some of these like preachers and stuff, man. They got people giving up their whole life savings, you know. And then when they ask them to take account of it, you know, the preacher's sitting there like he don't know, like he didn't know that he was asking these people for all of their money. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't know what happened. He know damn well he was getting these people for their money.
But I want to keep this in mind. And I say this about y'all because I think about it all the time, right? That I could say with these two imams, something y'all really probably don't realize. It's hard for imams to work together because, especially black imams, because we're all usually in the same type of struggle. So this is three different communities. You got the Masjid Quba, Islamic school. You have Masjid Mu'min and say Masjid Muhammad. Say these three imams, right? We all got individual communities. Now, keep in mind, these are real communities with real people. Like some of you have been to Masjid Muhammad. Some of you been to Masjid Mu'min. Some of you been to Quba school, right? These are real people with real communities and real stuff and children and seniors and real people, right? So each community has its own stuff. And it is the nature, and the imam is usually the one who's at the head and responsible, right? If nobody else do nothing, Imam Faheem has to do something. Imam Naeem has to do something, right? If everybody else just call it quits, you can't. No. So that's about your own community, right? But what is unique about these two imams, we've never had, despite everybody struggling, no one takes the money from what we're doing to take for their own individual community. Now we got to keep saving the money. We got to try to invest whatever we could do to build so we could go visit other communities and build. No one takes no money for themselves. Nobody. That's rare. And not to make a fitna about it. How much money we got? We got this much money. Yo, man, I need my hit. No one's like that. So, and I'm telling you that's itself is difficult to do. So these are like selfish people, right? They're just like, yo, we got to get this work done. And that's something that really that you should know, because I think it's extremely important to have integrity, right? And it's easy with these imams because they have integrity. They're thinking about us, not themselves. We don't have, like, we never had a money argument. We never had a, yo, man, what about me? And that's rare to see that, right? And nobody's taking the money, and no one's even, that's in their mind. I'm telling you, that's not easy. So it speaks volumes of the people you got, that they committed to you. I've seen imams fall out. They try to do a joint effort, and it don't work. It don't go too far. Everybody worrying about themselves, right? So I just wanted to share that thought with you. You have a good group of people, right, that are working on your behalf. And we want to go around. We want to meet communities. We want to help where we can help. But each of us have our own work that we have to do individually. And this group effort, you know, we need your help to sustain it, right? We need your help to sustain it. It's not sustainable individually. One of us can do it, because we have community, and people don't realize the masjid is a part of the extended house of each imam. So you got to take care of your family, and you got to take care of the masjid. Wherever they fall short, you better find it. And I could tell you some stories about these imams, but that's their personal stuff, and I won't. But these are real dudes. I say that. They will literally break themselves into pieces to put us back together. I can say that firsthand, no doubt about it. So it's a pleasure to work with you, brothers. Imam Genius and Imam of the Boom Bap, I'm honored to be in your presence. I feel like an honored guest.
Hey, the honor's all mine.
Hey, come on, man. I can't be caught out here crying, man. They going to think I'm light-skinned and soft, man. I can't do that. You're going to make me cry, man.
Imam Faheem.
Yeah.
You know, my wife, my Gambia wife, she said, you have a black imam on the black imam's roundtable. He's white. I said, he ain't white, man. He's black.
She really said that? Are you joking?
Today.
She probably said, yeah, tell her I start fading in the wintertime, I start fading. Tell her, catch me in June, July, I'm going to be weed again.
Are you going to be weed?
Yeah, I'm going to be weed in the summertime.
Oh my goodness. Dang. Boy, she's really African, huh? Yeah. This guy is white. He's not a black imam.
They have a word for white people. They're Tuba, right?
No, tell her. Nah, don't do that. Don't do that.
You have Tuba on the black imam's roundtable. I said, no, we don't.
Oh my God, y'all burn out.
No,
Okay,
tell her we killed
yeah.
2 Bobs over here.
If there's any questions, please feel free to go ahead. We didn't get any questions from y'all today. Farouk talking about Bitcoin. I don't even know what that is. I mean, I heard it, but I don't know what Bitcoin is. People talk about it, but I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, Farouk. Use Cash App. You can exchange through Bitcoin on Cash App. So
oh, you can? It turned into money?
Yeah.
All right, Farouk. We need to do
Take your
$1,000
Bitcoin and make a Cash App donation.
We don't got any questions. Are we done? Hey, I'm practicing extreme restraint. I want to go off, but I can't. I want to go off bad. Boy, it's like, get it out, get it out. I'm like, nah, let that go.
So we got 3 hours more on this round table.
Now we almost 2 hours in.
Oh, here we got a question.
So if we want to take that, there are a list of things. I'm telling you one of the things that we need to do, right? And we started, and we're doing it, and it's very successful. We need to go, and this is something that I really want to do. We need to go to every community we can in the country, on the ground, meet with the people, inshallah, the leadership who's willing to work with us and help build a coalition of our people with common mindset, religious education, community building, and networking. We have a lot of resources, but they're not connected together. And though we live on this, online type platforms, and that become our life, actually you need physical contact, physical relation. Everywhere we've traveled, we've met brothers and sisters and we've become family, right? But we need to sustain that because some people are trying to do the same work, but they need support. So by being there, we're like a support for one another and we give strength to one another. And that is building family, right? But that needs to be done around the country, right? So all of these people, like for instance, quickly, let's do something real quick, Sister Haja Stacy, so you can follow what I'm saying. Please, everyone that's here is a lot of people. Do it. Just come on. I know some of y'all like to hide in the shadows. For this one thing, engage me. I need you to put your city and state. Just say city and state. Like I'm Atlantic City, New Jersey. So let's go. Put city and state. So I'll go first. Everybody put their city and state. All right, Atlantic City, New Jersey. I'm in. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, that's with a B, not a P. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. All right, we got Atlantic City, Camden, New Jersey, Philadelphia, PA, Brooklyn, New York, Chicago, Illinois, Atlanta, Georgia, Brooklyn, New York, Montgomery, Alabama, Wichita, Kansas, Laurel, Maryland, Albany, New York. All right, let me go back up. I'm sorry. Jacksonville, North Carolina, Tampa, Florida, Salem, Oregon. Wow. Now you're going to see my ignorance. There's Black people in Oregon. Oh, mashallah. Alliance, Ohio. Never heard of that. Wilmington, Delaware. Pittsburgh, Gambia, Africa. Atlanta, Georgia. UK, England. Philadelphia, Bronx, Philadelphia. Sheffield, UK.
Tortola, Virgin Islands.
West Hampton, Chicago Heights, Illinois, Tortola, Virgin Islands, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Houston, Texas, St. Louis, Missouri, Indianapolis, Indiana. Where's Chirac? Oh, that's Chicago. Camp Springs, Maryland, San Pablo, California, Fort Myers, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, Cleveland, Ohio, Vancouver, British Columbia.
Oh, you see Miss Joanne? Assalamu alaikum, Miss Joanne. How you doing?
So you get an example. Baltimore, Long Island. So you get an example how many people we're touching around the country and around the world. All of those people, and there are much more because that ain't all the people that's here, right? We need to connect with these people. Every week you're here, you're supporting. We need to visit. We need to see what's the work that's needed on the ground. How can we support one another, right? West Babylon, New York. Wow. Kingston, Jamaica. Right? And then you also get to see the needs of each other, right? Where you can be of support. But most important, we got to educate people. If we're talking about just the issue of education and Islamic education, there are not enough teachers that daily teach and educate. There's not enough, especially the creed and the practice of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. That's a work in and of itself, right? Books that need to be taught, seminars, and then we talk about the social aspect. We got skilled people with skill sets that are needed around the country that we should be sharing, that we should be facilitating. Workshops, community intervention with different issues. All that stuff is important. So that's a list of things. But to do that, you got to be on the ground and meet people. So that's one of the things what we do with the money is that we travel around to go visit these communities. Some local, sometimes far. If I look at Philadelphia alone, where we did the most work because it's closest for all of us, every month we in Philly, we don't charge nobody no money. We don't go there and say, yo, I need an honorarium. We don't do none of that. Nowhere we go that we take money from the people. We come to help, right? So we never say, yo, you got to fly me out. We pay our own tickets with this stuff that we raise. We fly out. We get the hotel. We don't put the burden. We try our best not to put the burden on nobody. And this way we can build. If that's a part of the answer to your question, Sister Haja Stacy.
Because, also, sister, one thing that's even more important than money, I forgot where I said this at, or this might have been on one of your shows, Imam. I mean, more important than money is access. We have an access to each other. We have an ability to share our ideas, our strengths, our weaknesses, our energies, Money is just the least part of it. We're talking about networking, across the country and getting like-minded people, and that we're going to be able to spark the minds that's going to be able to help take us over the top. We're going to be able to reach that person because I'm just listening to all these cities, man, and I'm like amazed. I didn't know that, you know what I mean? I didn't know all those kind of people be listening to us, you know what I mean? And
remember I told you that story about Virginia? And you got them stories too. I was taking my daughter back to school and I stopped in Falls Church, Virginia. I was in the store and a lady walked up to me. She was staring at me, right? And I'm like, man, why is this woman staring at me, right? She was like, follow me around the store, right? So I did what I had to do. Then when I came out, she was in front of the store. She's like, excuse me, where are you from? She said, are you from Atlantic City? I said, yeah. She said, "Are you Imam Amin Muhammad?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I watch you on the Black Imams Roundtable all the time, brother. I knew it was you, but I wasn't sure. And then I came out and I saw those jersey tags on your car. Brother, I just want to thank you how much y'all have done for my life. If it wasn't for y'all, I would be stressed out." I was confused. I went through the Salafi burnout. And for y'all brothers, right? Y'all helped me so much. And she said, "I just want to thank you." And she waited at least about 20 minutes to do that.
Wow.
And you'll meet many people like Imam Naeem got, like that brother came on the other day from last week from the UK and talked about how beneficial it is what they got. And many people, if they wasn't for this program, many people have been stressed out during the pandemic. But they had something to look forward to, you know.
Yeah, I had a couple people, man. They was like, they reached out to me in inbox. I said, "Well, did somebody refer you to me or something?" Like, "No, I saw you on the brown table." She said, "I wanted to talk to somebody with knowledge. I saw you on the round table." You got the wrong one.
Well, it works.
Yeah.
We're doing something good.
I told her I was in Philly, man. I was coming out of sides, man. This brother, Philly nigga staring at you, man. It's like, whoa, what's up? Man, what's up? You know what I mean? Hey, man, you Faheem from the Imam's Roundtable. Oh, yeah. Because I was about to say, man, what? Let's get ready to go down right now. Because I got to hurry up and get out of this town, man, before I get shot. Yeah, but mashallah, man, it's a lot of people, man, and we're honored to be able to do this program every week. I actually look forward to it. Like Tuesdays, my schedule is just like everything is off. People like it's almost come for like how Friday is for me. Friday is like I don't want to talk to nobody. I got stuff to do. But Tuesday is like, I'm doing my stuff. People be like, "Well, can we lock in for Tuesday?" Absolutely not. No, we got to.
You know what it's kind of like, Imam. I mean, Queens, Jamaica Avenue, right?
That was one of my main spots to set my table up and go to Isna, or no, it's Ikna, and go behind the bus station and go to sleep
by the library terminal. You used to be over there for real?
Yeah, that was my peddling spot. I do all my runs
through
New York, and then at night before the sun go down, Maghrib, I would take the J all the way out, and then get off Jamaica Avenue. See, I know
you used to make salad on top of the Coliseum.
No, I used to go to the Ikna had a building behind the bus station.
Yeah,
Ikna had a center right there with a nice thick blue carpet. So I would go in there and go to sleep and pray and go to sleep.
Because I seen some Ansars one time praying in the parking lot on top of the Coliseum.
Yeah, they all over, but I used to set up my table on Jamaica Ave.
Reason why I said that, because this kind of remind me, like, when I was in high school, my wife know the story. I ain't gonna tell the whole long story, but ended up beating up this kid from Jamaica High School, right? And I could not understand why everybody in his school was scared of him. Like, I literally chased him for like 2 blocks. He came back with a crew of people trying to jump me. They all was from around my way. And so he had to end up fighting me a fair one, like it started, right? And I beat him up, right? And I used to work at Modell's on Jamaica Avenue, sneaker department, after school. So after school, some kid came to me like it was some movie type stuff. I just wanted to shake your hand. I saw you beat up so-and-so this morning. Right? I'm like, for real? Like, you're not even tough. Like, what? Why is everybody scared of this guy? You'd be surprised, right? and like people were really affected, like, you know, wow, he can be beat. Like it wasn't even that deep, right? It wasn't like I knocked him out cold or nothing like that. It was just a fight. I happened to win. It was nothing tough about him or nothing, right? But he had everybody in his school under pressure, right? And so what I be the feedback of this reminds me of some of the feedback we be getting. I'm like, it ain't even that deep. What we talking about, we all know it. It's just there's only a few of us saying it. That's why it sound deep or something. I don't, you know, it kind of like reminds me of that. Like the stuff we be talking about, right, is the stuff a lot of other people talk about privately in closed doors. Even other imams talk about it, but they're not going to talk about it publicly for various reasons. And I think a lot of people see it as a sign of relief that, you know, we saying what a lot of people been saying privately. I just wanted to add that. It just kind of like remind, you know, what y'all said.
I mean, if you got a love, I think that goes back to a love for our people. Because if you look at it, watch this, pay attention, and you'll notice this. When something reaches our community, it has devastating consequences when it go wrong. Other communities can be affected with the same ideology, but because they have cultural, you know, a cultural unity, sort of say, right? It only go but so far, right? For us, massive destruction in our communities, right? Everyone gets affected by it, right? And I think when you have a love for your people, there's this idea that I got to do what I got to do, right? Because especially like when you think about where we've come from, we shouldn't still be having these, all we've been through, we shouldn't still have these same conversations, whether as Muslims or non-Muslims, as Black people. But we still have the same conversations. So that means we got work to do so that the next generation is not in the same condition we are. I'll give you an example. Someone put up, you did share that. Let me start some fitna. Why not? Right. The Jawala Scouts, a good work that Brother Muhammad and them are doing with the youth. For whatever the issues is, and Allah knows best, I'm not in it, right? In their own community, they couldn't find a home and a place what is their community as Black folk. That's all the stuff going on in Philadelphia with killing and shootings and all that stuff. And you got somebody working with youth. How is it possible that they would be pressured to leave a masjid? That would even be a feeling or a thought. Bad as we trying to save youth, that happens. Think about that. Forget the politics. Think of that, how destructive stuff can be when it hits our communities. Right? I mean, I was thinking about that. Like, whatever it is, in that place, with all the problems you got somebody bringing youth and they have to take the youth out and go somewhere else for some politics, whatever it is. Think about how bad that is. And we all been around this area, so we know the history of the Jawala Scouts and the good work that they do, especially for some youth. Think about that. I mean, that shows you how when stuff hit our communities, it messes us up, right? Maybe some of those parents who bring their kids to go from one place to another will create it difficult for them that they can't bear and they have to pull their kids out. You follow what I mean? Like, we don't even be thinking, like whatever it is, like, these are the children. But these ideologies and these, ambitions always have an effect. It's something to think about. And I'm not going into the details. That is really not important. I'm talking about the consequence, the outcome, what happens. That's something to think about. That's why we need these type of efforts. Oh, did we hit the goal? I thought we hit the goal. I don't know. All right, we close. I think we hit it. Did we hit the goal? Yes, we did.
6:10.
All right. May Allah reward you all. We thank you for all your support, your attendance, your commitment to doing what we got to do. And let's keep it moving, inshallah. Let's keep it moving. Any final comments, statements?
I got something. I think, when the initial topic we were talking about was bridging the gaps. I think each and every one of us should be the example that we want to see. And in your respective communities, if you have these people, you have Wahhabis around, a few that you might know, or they concentrated, or some that that are open, reach out to them. Reach out to them, invite them over for, some lunch or a cup of tea or something, and just just have a talk, because all of it don't have to be formal all the time where we just going back and forth. Some of it's just a heart to heart, and, you can get a lot of input from people, because then, when you get people by themselves, you find out that they're willing to admit that they never just, they didn't know this stuff. And Imam Amin can attest to it. There are a lot of people that say they just didn't know. They just did not know that this was the kind of information that was, part of Islam. They only knew, what was given to them, and they had no idea that there was a plethora of information that they just were denied. And there was a time where Ahl Sunnah, it wasn't as, in this area, you didn't have as many voices like you do now. We still need more, but now, when more people start to speak up, and we got, scholars, and we got institutions, and we got authors, and we got, preachers, and we got, good teachers, then it starts to offset a lot of that stuff, because, when you spread the right doctrine, that stuff has nowhere to go. It doesn't have a host, so we just got to keep it. But, and because, one of the magnificent things about, following Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that, on the basics, you're well equipped. On your basics, you are well equipped. When you know your Fard Ain, and you know the rulings of how to pray and how to fast and all, that stuff is powerful, and it's something that we can help with people out, inshallah ta'ala, so it's just a matter of being able to articulate it and, teach it properly, inshallah. So I encourage all of you to do those things in your respective communities, to take people by the hand if that is indeed an issue, and not just Wahhabis. We have people who are, part of the War of Deen community, and they had to go through a transition, and they were deprived of some knowledge, and a lot of them are open, and then there's a lot of people coming out of cults. There are people who are new Muslims who are coming from Christian backgrounds, other backgrounds, and we got to be on the ground and start grabbing their hands and just teaching them and being patient with them. Got a question. It says, what would you say is the best way to approach someone from the Salafi movement in a peaceful way, as you are aware they will cut you off when they find out you follow methodology? Well, there was a question before that. Well, Sister Rashad, we don't really have any detailed information about that. We just something we mentioned.
But they will be gathering next Saturday at Masjid Mujahideen.
Okay.
So it's like in the morning they meet up. So you can go there and they could tell you about it and see how you can help them. They're moving temporarily to Masjid Mujahideen. I don't want to get into all that other stuff, but that's where they be on Saturday, December the 18th, which is this Saturday coming up. You can inshallah, you can go talk to them at Masjid Mujahideen. That's where they will be.
Sister Samira said, plug in the Christmas event that we're doing.
Oh, the next Philadelphia gathering will be December 25th at the same place, same time. So it starts at 11 o'clock in the morning to 6 at night. Saturday, December 25th. That's the next gathering in Philadelphia. Inshallah, next week we'll put up the flyer.
Yeah, I was answering that. You got something else? I wanted to answer this brother's question.
Okay.
He said, what would you say is the best way to approach someone from the Salafi movement in a peaceful way, as you're aware they will cut you off when they find out you follow methodology? The best way is just engage them, because it ain't just knowledge that we're talking about. We're talking about the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, perfect akhlaq and adab, and you start with that and let the conversation just flow on itself, because any person that has an iota of sense, if you're treating them well and you asking how their family are and you're giving them gifts and, you're speaking to them in a kind manner, that has an impact on the heart. And then when they ask you about methodology, then you're ready to explain it because now you've primed them. You know what I'm saying? But, it should be peaceful anyway. Even if people that we are, vehemently opposed to, it ain't really no beef like that. It's about clarification. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that's the best way to handle it, and Allah knows best. But, but when the time comes when you have to articulate knowledge, you be ready, after you treated them well, showing them what it is to be a brother to another Muslim, then you be able to explain and be able to answer their questions. And if you don't know, then you find out, and Allah knows best.
You go ahead, Imam Naeem.
No, I just wanted to, because Imam Faheem mentioned it earlier, but he didn't mention her name. Sister Malika just mentioned it. And I saw her stat too. And she mentioned it's not her only time she mentioned it. A lot of us are like Sister Malika, like, we used to be Wahhabi or connected with them and all of that. And then when we, find the truth, and we act according to the truth and whatever, they drag your name through the mud. Like me, I had this happen in Ahlul Sunnah. Why they still getting dragged through the mud? I've been the jail and everything like this. This is where the internal strength comes from. Because like we were talking about before, how, a lot of times people want to follow the crowd. And a lot of times that hurts people. You have to understand, especially when you were a part of a cult and they kick you out or ostracize you, it's to break you. It's not to bring you back to the truth. Their intent is to break you emotionally. They're trying to break your spirit. This is what they're trying to do. This is like what Elijah did with Malcolm's brother Reginald, and like what Elijah did try to do with Malcolm. They didn't break him. The intent is to break you as a human being. They don't want to see you get rectified and get close to Allah. They want to see you destroyed. They're not going to articulate it like this, but they want to see you leave Islam. They want to see you, like I think Imam Faheem mentioned it. They want to see you drunk. They want to see you, they want to use you as a proof that Allah's wrath is on you because you're not with them anymore. And so this is the psychology happening behind all of that. And you have to remember that the truth usually ain't with the crowd. It's with the few. And even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Bada al-Islam gharib, sayaudu kama bada gharib, fatuba lil ghuraba." Islam began as something strange, and it'll go back to being the way it started, as something strange. So give glad tidings to the strangers. So you should consider yourself and every other brother or sister like you that you're one of the strangers in this time. And you also have to know that we have to, us three can't be the only ones teaching. We all have to teach in our individual circles. And you have to understand that you're part of a family. You're part of 3453 family. You ain't by yourself, right? You ain't alone. You need help, we coming, right? I seen that happen in many instances with the 3453 family. I don't like, for example, we were on a platform that most people thought was going to be hostile because of the people that normally listen on that platform. But our people was in the building. Our people, our energy, our vibe controlled the comment section, right? Because the 3453 family was in the building. If you know what I mean, right? The host was cool, but it was kind of toxic environment for people like us grassroots type of people, right? But the 3453 family was in the building and controlled the energy and the vibe and the flow of the comments. And so you have to understand that you're not by yourself. A lot of times, we think we all by ourselves. We not by ourselves. We roll deep. We just like we mentioned earlier. If we need to, we'll deal with you one-on-one. But we got peoples too, right? You ain't by yourself. And so I know sometimes we think that, they're not my friends anymore, or what have you. But just stand strong and stay firm and watch. But again, we have to be teaching all of it. It has to be a mass teaching mode. Even if you look at the Sahaba, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not the only one teaching. There were other people teaching. Everybody couldn't be with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam all day. Some of those people learned what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to offer on a given day from other Sahaba who were there when they couldn't be there. And we know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ballighu anni walau ayya." Relate for me, even if it's one thing, right? You're getting this information, this knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah transmitted to you. Don't sit on it. Don't hold it. Transmit it to people that will listen to you. It has to be a grassroots movement. Everybody has to be involved. Just as long as you know your lane and stay in it. You only teach what you know. People may not like listening to me. They may not like listening to Imam Faheem. They may not like listening to Imam Amin, but they may like listening to you.
Let's not go too far. You was fine with the first two guys you mentioned.
But they may not listening to you. So stop sitting on it and transmit it. Nobody knows everything. As long as you know what you know, stay in your lane and give it. That's what I have to say. I can go on and on.
And let me say something about that, right? That last question, the one Imam Faheem talked about. And this is honest. Y'all ready for this? The more you learn, the more you're going to discover how much you don't know. Let me repeat that. The more you learn, the more you're going to discover how much you don't know. Right? With that being said, when you combine that with love that we need to have for ourselves as Muslims, a lot of people just don't know. They're not bad people. They don't know. And a lot of us are still like little kids in our mentality. You know, the guy or the kid who wasn't that smart in school. I'm not that smart, but I'll whoop you, right? Like, I beat you up after school. That was the way they compensated for their lack of education. Instead of learning, now I just beat you up after school because you're making me look like I'm stupid, right? That mentality exists a lot, right? So from our side, just as you learn and realize how much you don't know, consider the other person that may have a position they just don't know, right? Not everybody is just arrogant and stubborn, and stuck on stupid. Some people just don't know. I don't know. And then when you add to it, people haven't taught them. Let me explain something to you. You ever listen to a Salafi class? I'm talking about in the black community. You ever listen to a Salafi class in the black community? Tell me what it sounds like. The student of knowledge, go listen. If you haven't, have you ever listened to a Salafi class in the black community? What it sounds like. And I'm not being funny. What does it sound like?
It's mechanical.
Right?
That's the word, mechanical. I said robotic, mechanical.
What is a main thing that is preventative for people, us understanding that they do all the time? If you're the real man, what you got to do? Think about it. If you listen to him, Malika, you should know. Come on, sister.
Use a lot of Arabic.
Exactly. Now, let's think about this. I'm talking about serious. So this guy sitting around showing his Arabic with a bunch of people who can't even speak English. No, seriously, I'm not like being funny. You're going Arabic, English, Arabic, English. And the person you're talking to doesn't even understand English well. You heard what I just said? If you said the same thing in English, some of the people you're talking to would have a difficult time understanding fully. So you're spending all this time speaking to people in a language they don't understand. And they're struggling with regular what you're talking about. And then you add this whole other element that they can't understand. Then you ask that person what's being said. They can't articulate it. They can't articulate it. So the average person is listening to something they don't understand, right? But they're down. They got the uniform on. I got the uniform. I got my, a sister. I got my niqab. Brother, I got my pants pulled up. I got my thobe up to my shin. I got my beard. Whatever, the uniform is there. But really, really understanding is shot. You listen to the average person who've been listening to that stuff for years. They don't understand. They don't. They just know you're not on it. That's the part they do understand. He's a deviant, and that's all you need to know. But, okay, what is he a deviant for? I don't know. What do you really believe? I don't know. I don't know how many times I've talked to a person who claims to follow that stuff, and they don't even know that what you're saying, they don't believe. You hear what I said? You're talking to a person, what you just said, they don't even believe. That's because they're not being taught, right? So when you're thinking about that, just keep that in mind. There's not really learning going on. There's just repeating. I'm down, you a deviant, or whatever. I got my list of deviants, but I really don't know what I'm talking about myself. And part of it ain't, I just don't even understand. I don't even understand the subject. And long as I'm down, I don't have to know the subject because I'm down. And that's a fault from the teachers. Our teachers were strict in making sure you understand. I don't want you just to be down. Do you understand what is being said? Right? And I think when we take that in consideration, you're not going to be so quick to condemn a person or to have hostility. You understand? Person don't understand. And if you have the relationship with them, they'll feel safe saying, I don't understand. And I think that will help the situation, inshallah. So just keep that in mind. Right? I would tell you the story of Ultimate one time to give you the example, and I'll end with this point. This guy used to beat me in the head with Al-Albani, 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 Al-Albani over and over and over and over again. So one time, he was a friend of mine. I knew him, right? But I'm deviant. But he's my friend, so he gave an exception to my deviance, right? So we're driving. So I'm playing a tape in Arabic. And he says to me, man, that's deep. Who's that? And I looked at him. I said, Al-Albani. This guy, all he say is Al-Albani. Every other word out of his mouth was Al-Albani. And we're driving. We listen for we're driving, and I'm just playing the tape. And he said, man, that's deep. Who's that? And I looked at him. This big Al-Albani fan didn't even recognize Al-Albani or know his voice. He just was a parrot. Never heard Al-Albani, none of that. Right? So, and I told him, he was like, oh, you got me there. I was like, I wasn't trying to get you. I'm just saying, learn. Right? Learn. And because something Al-Albani said that he was arguing with, and that's why I played the tape. Because it was a position of Al-Albani. This guy quoting Al-Albani, and Al-Albani got a whole different position. That's where we got to get. And that's just education. That's it. It's not to put no one down. It's education. We have to learn. And we have to be able to say, I don't know when I don't know. It's fine. No one knows everything. Somebody's going to teach you when we humble enough to say, I don't know. Right? And I think that's the approach we got to have with us as a people. And Allah knows best. All right, we done?
Is we finished or is we done?
Oh, we finished.
I think we're done.
That's it. No more questions. All right, who's going to close out? Not me. Oh, this guy.
We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity. We are grateful to engage you all on tonight's broadcast. We thank you for, hanging with us during the duration, for your questions, your comments, your attention, and your donations. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept us. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم آمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك الفاتحة.
I'm sorry. I should have mentioned this before you made dua. Tomorrow morning, There's going to be all scattered thoughts. Bring your notebooks. You're going to enjoy it. You don't want to miss it. Tomorrow morning at 6:40, scattered thoughts begin. It's going to be a doozy. Inshallah.
You put the flyer for you already said the event, right? Somebody said the flyer for Sister Sabria's event in Atlanta.
I don't have it. I have this flyer.
Bam.
Yeah. Registration is open. Where's the link for registration? Put it in the registration in the chat box. We got the 4th African American Islamic Summit coming up on February 18th to the 20th. Registration is open. Please register and let's get this movement going, inshallah ta'ala. Okay.
Yep. Y'all see they got us at the top, right? See, it is working. They have accepted us as equals.
You're the funniest, man. Imam of the boom bap. All right. Inshallah, we'll see y'all tomorrow morning, bright and early. Have your coffee, have your notebooks, get some sleep. There's going to be a lot of notes. Barakallahu bikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.